Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Vergne Board of Zoning Appeals, May the 28th. It's 5:30 p.m. I'll call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. First order of business is approve the minutes from the April the 30th, 2024 regular meeting. A chance to review the minutes, and I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes.
I have a first for making the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved. Old business, it is the request for variance to height restriction in the Vergne zoning ordinance, property located at 703 Walden Road, tax map 29, parcel 22.02, R3, high density residential zone district, parcel owned by John McGillen Living Trust. Mr. Logan, can I have your report, please?
Thanks. So this applicant is requesting a variance to the height limit in the current zoning ordinance. And of course, this property is located at 703 Walden Road. So you can see it there on the screen, south of I-24. So the property is this large wooded area, and I-24 is in the upper right corner of the image. The project name is Mission Hills, so some people call it 703 Waldron and others Mission Hills. So it's the same property. But this area is slated to be a multifamily development with apartments, and it's been approved for that use. And it's currently zoned R3. You can see on the zoning map on the screen. It's part of a larger area that's zoned R3 that extends down to Blair Road at the south. And this project was here for a variance request in the last year. That one was for 3-story apartment buildings, but if the roof elements like the gables exceeded 35 feet, that's what the variance was for, to allow them to exceed the 35 feet. So 35 is pretty low, and it's kind of an outdated number. And the new zoning ordinance that's being proposed will allow up to 4 stories outright in this district. So when the new zoning ordinance is adopted, the 4 stories would be a moot point. But since we're still under the old zoning ordinance, the limit is still 35 feet or 3 stories. So since the last variance, Mission Hills has decided to come back for that extra floor for the 4th floor, and so it was necessary to come back again to BOZA to request that variance, and the application is in your packet as well. And these are some site photos. So this is Waldron Road, just here on the left. And then these are some renderings provided by the applicant that were also in your packet that show an example of the 4-story building that they are proposing. So again, here's a closer view of the 4-story building. So this is an example that they provided in the packet. And here's some more images. Interiors, and then this would be, looks like a courtyard interior to one of the proposed buildings. So these give you a good idea of what the 4-story product could look like. There's another one there with the pool in the foreground. So I believe I've covered all the important details. I guess I didn't mention the proposal that's already been approved by the Planning Commission is for 324 units on this property. So that's the number of units. And other than that, there's no other staff comments. And that completes the report. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. Is there a representative here this evening for this project? If you would step to the podium and raise your right hand. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, to help you God?
Yes.
Can you state your name and address for the record, please, sir?
David Pierce, 1136 Glenwood Avenue, Nashville.
Thank you. Board members, any questions you'll ask the applicant?
Last year, this variance was granted up to 50 feet in height. Last year's papers also said that the new zoning ordinances were going to be no more than 3 stories and 50 feet, but now this year it's gone to 50 feet and 4 stories. I'm confused. Which one is correct?
So at the present time, my understanding is the 4 stories is one is being proposed.
Okay, I found nothing in the new zoning ordinances that allows us to go to 4 stories in residential districts.
Mr. Logan, do you have a picture of that, the new one?
I know the slide that Graham and I talked about. So it was the consensus of the Planning Commission because the ordinance, Mr. Jones, that you're asking about is still a living document. So the Planning Commission continues to make changes. So those changes have been made in the last 9 or 10 months since this applicant was here last.
Okay.
The
then
4 stories.
We don't have it in writing yet. Again, this,
Yeah, you don't have it in writing because all those changes can't be put up on the website every day. That's something that City Hall is in charge of. There's no way to do that. But the final draft document will have the 4 stories before it goes back to Planning Commission. We met last week with legal, so that whole document has to return to the Planning Commission, get their blessing. So there's still a long process involved for reviewing that.
But at the present time, the way it's written, there is 4 stories written in the document,
Correct, in the draft.
the draft, okay. So obviously from there, the Planning Commission makes recommendations to Mayor Alderman, and then it goes to BOMA for their approval or disapproval. But as at the present time, it is 4 stories in the document. A couple of questions for you, sir, that I have. Would there be elevators in the 4 stories?
Yes, yes, going to 4 stories would make it cost-effective to basically put elevators in it. And we're still staying with the 324, so we're not increasing the density, we're keeping it the same. So it minimizes the land use, so you're just going vertically up. So it makes, less buildings, surface area.
So there'd be more green area or more spaces? Or
Yep, more open space.
I have a question for staff, maybe Chief over there. With the 4 stories, Chief, do we have the equipment if we do approve this, or when it goes to 4 stories? Do we have the equipment to handle it if there was a fire?
If I could, sir, what would you consider the height of that 4th floor landing?
That one there is right at about 52, and the gabled one was right at 58.
So the actual landing where someone would need to be rescued from would be 50 foot at that point?
No.
If they're standing on that landing where those windows are?
I'm sorry, excuse me, that's 42.
Okay, so where the windows would be similar, is that correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Coates, at our very best effort with, depending on setbacks on parking and landscaping, sidewalks and that, we would be hard pressed today to make an effective rescue to the 4th floor window with our 75-foot ladders. It doesn't seem mathematically possible. We have a 75-foot ladder that doesn't reach to 4 floors. However, with the setback, we eat up quite a bit of length of our ladder itself. However, I know this building will not be built tomorrow. Next year, this time, with the current budget proposal, it should hopefully will pass. We will have the staffing levels in a 100-foot truck in the center of town that would be able to make that work. Did I understand correctly the language that happened up here or from Mr. Logan? Did you say that there is 4-story apartments in the future already approved? Is that correct?
So this project, Mission Hills, received a variance to exceed 35 feet in height.
Okay.
They were still at 3 stories. But as you know, with some of the projects lately in Laverne, like Jackson Station, that 35 feet is a really short number when you add in gables and hipped roofs.
Yes, sir.
So they needed to go above 35 feet last year, but they were still at 3 stories.
Correct. Now, again, the effect, number one, is life safety. And for our ability to rescue, by the time, I'm guessing a year and a half, 2 years for see a CO on that?
Yes.
We should be able to accommodate that. The challenge here will be as we go forward. Because once this one passes, I would have to assume that more will ask and seek the same approval. Would that be a fair statement?
I would pretty, yes. It would.
So as the further we get away from the center of town, the longer response times that we're going to have to those locations. And that would be a challenge at that point for us to make that rescue within a timely fashion. We're looking at 11-minute response time, give or take, to that area. The further we get away from the center of town at Station 41, where the tower will be riding from or working from, we delay times in rescue efforts. And as we open more fire stations, as we've talked about, with future growth, Station 44, we would just have to accommodate the right vehicles to continue to provide the service that we've had in the past. If that's a fair statement.
Thank you. So question, if the approval is granted today, when would you expect the building to be completed or receive a CO?
Probably within, I'd say, first COs would be probably within 16 months.
16 months, okay. So that fits your time frame, Chief? I mean,
Yes, it will.
Any other question, board members? Any other questions from the board? Okay, with that, you've heard the application and from the applicant, so I'll take a motion for or against the request for the request for variance of height restriction, and I'll accept a request either way, whichever the board feels like to do.
Motion to deny.
You have a motion to deny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Let's do a roll call.
I'm for it.
You're for the motion or for the 4 stories?
4-story.
Okay. So if you just would hit the motion presently is to deny. So if you're against deny, you say no.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Justin?
No.
No.
Yes.
Charlie? Therefore, the motion fails. Sorry. The motion for the 4 stories is accepted and is approved. So with that, we'll move forward. So the motion is denied. Thanks, sir. On to new business, a request for special exception to allow an educational facility property located at 2 Ingram Boulevard, tax map 17, parcel 20.02, I2 heavy industrial zoning, property owned by David B. Ingram. Mr. Logan.
Thank you. So this second request is for a special exception, and this special exception will allow a new school to occupy the existing building at number 2 Ingram Boulevard. So if you look on the screen here, you can see the building that we're speaking of. This is currently an office building on Ingram Boulevard, and to the left, outside of this photo would be Waldron Road. So the intersection down here is Waldron and Ingram Boulevard. So we're near that. And then the large parking lot area, which we'll talk a little bit more here later in this presentation. But the parking area here to the, let's see, this is the east side of this lot, has been roped off. If you've been out there, you've seen some of this parking lot, but it was leased to Amazon for overflow parking for Amazon. So we'll bring that up here in a moment. Now, zooming out, you can see a little bit better of the area that we're talking about. So this is Mason Road, and then this is one of the Amazon facilities that's just north of this site that we're speaking about. The zoning, this entire area is this dark blue color, which is I2 heavy industrial zoning. And then the lot we're looking at, it's outlined right here in blue. And moving along, the photos of the property, this is the existing office building. This is the main entrance today of the office building. And apparently, this building was built in the 1990s, maybe the mid-1990s. This is another view at the corner of the building, and then, of course, the number 2 for the address is on the building. All in all, this is a nice site, and it's a well-kept office building for the last couple decades or so. So this applicant is requesting the change of use to make this a school. And I'm not exactly sure of the grades, but we'll get to that in a moment. Make sure I'm covering. So educational facilities such as this are allowed in the I-1 and I-2 districts if they receive a special exception at the Board of Zoning Appeals, which is why they're here tonight. There has been a sign on the property now for nearly a month, and there's not been any phone calls that staff has received from anyone about it. Other than that, I know Mr. Lyde would like to make a few comments, so that completes the report, but I'll turn over to Mr. Lyde. Thanks.
Could you go to that picture right there, please, Bill? And hand me the laser thingy. All right, the applicant submitted a traffic study, just for y'all's information, and that traffic study has recommended that from about here to about here be a 15-mile-per-hour school zone. That's the only engineering comment.
Do we have an applicant here this evening, please? If you would step to the podium and raise your right hand. You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Matt Taylor of SEC, 850 Middle Tennessee Boulevard, Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Board have any questions for the applicant? I have none. Couple of questions from me, if you would, sir.
Yes, sir.
On the traffic study, does that incur any stacking and backup on Ingram Boulevard? Is there any?
We have shown for all that to occur on site, and I think Mr. Logan had mentioned the parking being leased by Amazon. They have let my client know very recently, I think last week, that Amazon will not be renewing that lease, and so we'll be able to recapture even all the parking to the east for on-site stacking.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board?
No.
With that, I'll accept a motion to.
I have a question. What
Go
about
ahead.
the school hours?
What are the school hours? 8 to 3 are the bell times.
Okay. I'm concerned about traffic on Ingram Boulevard. There's a lot of offices there.
And that's the reason why we worked with Mr. Lade to develop that traffic study. So we counted the traffic at those peak times. So we actually did it at 8. I think we did it at 5. And I think we also came back and did it at 3 to line up with those peak times. And we counted those. We did all those traffic counts while school was still in session as well. So we captured real life data that means something with that study.
The study at the school or on Ingram Boulevard?
The study is Ingram. We did the counts on Ingram at both intersections, and then we overlaid and projected our traffic based on our student count and the size of the building.
What's the student count?
So it'd be a K through 5 up to 340 students to begin with. That would eventually grow. I don't know the exact timing of that when they would add those extra classrooms, but that's what we went on.
Did you say that Amazon decided not to renew the lease?
Yes, sir.
Is there any kind of thought about drivers using I know that intersection there at Mason and Ingram was considered to be the worst in the traffic stop, or in the traffic study. Is there anything to stop people from using that Amazon, what used to be the Amazon lease, to zip through there and catch another exit?
So the way that the on-site circulation, because they're going to be picking up the kids at that front door area, they'll have to exit off onto the Ingram Boulevard. Otherwise, they'd be crossing traffic with each other. And you try to avoid that. You want a lot of one-way circulation. And so they could potentially come in off Mason and get in the lane like that. But today, there are some actual fencing or barriers that basically create 2 parking lots. Once Amazon is completely gone from the site, we would remove that. I think is what you're asking.
I wasn't concerned with the traffic for the school. I mean, people that are using Ingram Boulevard to go towards Mason.
Okay, I
if they get
misunderstood.
impatient at that.
Using it as a
stop,
cut through.
You always have kids going everywhere. Is there any kind of like stopping?
So all of those have gates, and
Great.
so we would be able to lock or close those if that was a potential. Like I think our entrance on Ingram that is closest to Mason, we would probably close that gate to try to prevent that cut through traffic.
Any other questions for the board? With that, I'll accept a motion for or against the request for special exception to allow an educational facility.
I'll do a motion to approve.
Motion approved. Do I have a second?
Second.
We'll have a roll call.
Aye.
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 So therefore, the request for special exception is approved. I just want to go back, ladies and gentlemen, I want to go back to item number 2. I'm just thinking about how this vote went, and I didn't vote, so I just want to clarify this because we have some new board members here. But I want to go back to old business request for variance to the height restrictions of Laverne zoning ordinance properly located at 73 Walden Road. So, Charlie, I believe you made the motion to deny,
Correct.
and you made the second. So this was a yes and a yes. Okay. Then we had
No.
and
No.
okay. So therefore, I just want to just bring this together here. And Mr. Attorney, there, would you,
Resolve some procedural.
yeah, you want to make sure you agree what we're doing here now, because
Yes.
obviously I didn't vote, and it was a confusion, including myself, of the way the vote went. So at the moment we have a motion to deny, which we have a first and a second, and we've got basically 2 and 2, and it's the shared decision on the vote. Yeah. So I want to vote no to, therefore the motion.
So at that point, the motion to deny has failed, but we need to consider a motion to approve. So
Okay. So with that, so the motion to deny failed, and so now we're going to go to a vote again to see who wants to approve the request for variance height restrictions Laverne zoning ordinance properly located at 703 Walden Road. Therefore, we'll do a roll call, nice and slow. So this is to approve the 4 stories.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
No.
So with me, the chair will make the motion aye. Therefore, the motion does approve. Are we correct?
thank you for resolving that.
Thank you. Any other questions for this board of zoning appeals? With that, of course, meeting adjourned.